Yeah, who knows? It's all good.
So
Go on.
I was gonna say, so good guy eyes, and then we'll work our way back up, I guess.
Sounds good to me. And then just for clarification, we're doing this based on like usefulness, right? So like, I think it'd be smart to determine like what our S, A, B, like what they all mean.
Yeah, I would say there was
I'm getting a.
actually
Oh, go on.
there was a hang on, I wanted to let me see if I can find this real quick. There was a way someone did this. It was Crow. Unlightened Crow did it this way. He did it more like one of those. I'll send you the image, but I think we can kind of do something similar to this.
Okay.
So he did it kind of in like a political box kind of thing.
A political box.
I sent you the image on Discord.
Okay. Let me open it up.
For my chat, this is what I'm talking about, a political box.
Oh,
That's what I call it.
interesting.
So, I mean, I think the easiest way would be always useful.
Yeah, always use. That's kind of what. Like, I think I have one on my page still. I can't remember, but I had one, and I think it's like always useful, sometimes useful in like specific builds, that kind of thing.
Always useful, sometimes useful.
Let's see. Let me see if I can get it.
Build reliant.
Yeah, like corner case, whatever you like. There's so many different things we could probably call it, and it'd be fine.
I'll make D detrimental because there's only one that even goes there.
Let's see. Yeah, because I think I have it. Always useful, requires right build, sometimes useful, exists, bad, something like that.
I did always useful, sometimes useful, build reliant, almost never useful.
Works for me.
And then detrimental. Again, I'm pretty sure only one of them is going in detrimental.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of mirror shards. S tier here. Weird. Was not expecting that. It's so weird.
So, yeah, I think this makes way more sense than S through F. But yeah.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I think first up, good guy eyes. My opinion on this one's actually changed. I think it's sometimes useful.
Really?
So we did the testing. So if you're moving and charging slice and dice, you go exactly 20 meters.
If you're moving, you say?
Yeah, if you're moving and
oh, go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you're moving and using slice and dice, you go exactly 20 meters.
You know what? I think that's fair. I don't like it. It's not like bad. It's definitely not detrimental. It's not useful. If it's in seeing what palettes they have available, I think is really smart because palette control is kind of a big thing with Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually think I agree with you here. I wouldn't have thought about it beforehand, but yeah, I think with how we have the tier list set up, I think this makes sense.
I would still like if you're gonna bring good guy eyes, I would still say just bring Zancian, especially after the change.
Yeah, Zancian, oh my god, is so strong.
But I do still I think my opinion on good guy eyes has definitely swayed a little bit. Now the next one's gonna be, I feel like, the more a harder one to determine, which is good guy box. Was it 7%?
Yeah, I think so. It's
I'm gonna pull the wiki up, but my computer sucks with it.
Yeah.
It's either 7 or 5. In fact, I'll look it up real quick.
I'm pretty sure it's 7. I think the way I just pulled up the wiki reduces the cooldown duration of successful slice and dice attacks to 93% of their default.
Yeah, so
duration,
7. It's 7.
Yeah. I think I have 2 people in my chat saying B. So sometimes useful. I don't know. I've never. It's already so low. Like it's to the point where like even in check, they'll hide behind like that box by the pallet,
Mhm.
and I'll purposely miss, and I can still swing before they get the pallet. It might be a grab instead of a hit, but like the cooldown is so short already.
It's a placebo add-on in my opinion. Like, because it saves you. We've done the math. I think it's like 0.3 seconds,
Yeah,
which can matter. It can matter, but like it's so seldom. And that's if they're running in a straight line, by the way.
Yeah, the amount of movement you're making, and if you're gonna like lose a hit with it anyways, that's like the margin of like ping could almost be a bigger determining factor in that situation.
It's such a hard one to gauge because I know people who swear by this add-on.
I do too, and some of them are like really good chucks too. It's not like they're like newer chucks or inexperienced. Like a lot of them are really good ones.
So I don't think it's detrimental. I don't think it's build reliant. I think I'd put it at the bottom of sometimes useful. Because I mean by definition it is technically sometimes, very seldomly, but sometimes useful.
I'd almost say almost never, because like if we're struggling to ever see the change, I feel like that's what would put like almost there. Like we can't even tell if it's happening, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I should be able to see the effect at least like once every couple matches, but like good guy box, I feel like I see the difference maybe like once every like 30 matches.
I can okay. Yeah, almost never useful I think is a good place for it. We're gonna get destroyed by a couple particular Chucky players for saying that. Um Next is strobe light, and I think strobe light is build reliant. I think
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
um,
Especially with the 10-second cooldown, which is like so good for Chuck, but it like kind of makes this add-on like
if
worse, ironically.
well, if you're running it in the build I run with it, the monitor build with Silk Pillow,
I love that build.
yeah, I just spam Heidi Ho. I go in and out of it the entire match until I'm in chase.
Yeah, and I think that's what you should be doing, because then you're like even rewarded for using your power for mobility at that point. I
Mhm.
do think it's good. I like it a lot, but yeah, I do think you need the right builds. If you're just trying to get use out of it like intermittently, like just passively, I just don't think it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Not ideally, anyways.
Scalpel. Almost.
I have not changed any thoughts on Scalpel. I don't think.
I still think it's almost never useful. I would put it in detrimental, but it technically doesn't hurt you. So
No, the only reason I'd like even consider putting in detrimental is that you're better off running anything else.
like
I think yards. Well, I won't get into like other stuff. That's
you know
better,
what?
'cause
I actually agree with you. I think detrimental makes the most sense for it. Like literally, run anything else. You'll get more value out of it. Run Good Guy Box.
Yeah, yeah.
There is. If you really, really want to see blood that badly, just run Bloodhound. It is better than Scalpel in every single way.
I agree. I don't know why so many people like it.
Do they? Is it that well liked?
Out of the chucks I've gotten in the last month, I think I've caught 2 using it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
online, I've never seen anybody defend it. Like, oh yeah, like I like it because of the X, Y, Z. But I have seen it being used. Maybe it's just people testing stuff out. But
it might help with slugging, I guess, because you could follow the blood trails, but just bring Deerstalker.
I mean, yeah, I guess if you're doing like if you're going for a full slug build, like if you're slugging to the point your whole build is slug on Chucky, like what are you kind of doing? Because I mean I know you did the slugging test.
I
for
did.
Karn.
I did straight razor and jump rope.
Yeah, I mean, but even then, like I don't think Chuck is very well suited for slugging, even from what I found.
Mm.
So it's kind of hard to say. I just don't see a reason.
I mean, that's the only situation I can see it in because it only works when you're in power, and if you're in power, you're probably chasing somebody already, anyways. And
yeah,
you have a third-person camera. If you're losing them, 9 times out of 10, it's because you literally lost them.
Yeah. No, this is. Yeah, I think we're in the right spot with this. It's just
And if you're losing them that much, just bring Predator.
Well, and I even I was playing a bit of Twins lately, and I think the blood, like, I don't think it ever helped me. Like being able to see it better there where Victor has it base kit.
The only time I've ever used like blood to track, like legitimately use it, every now and again I do, but was during Lights Out.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Okay, I can kind of see that.
But even then,
I
you
mean,
can't bring add-ons into that mode, can you?
I thought you could. I
You
don't know.
could.
I played very little of. Maybe not. No, I don't think you can. Yeah, I played very little of Lights Out. I did not like that modifier, and when I played Chucky in it, it felt evil,
Oh god, Chucky was
downright
so
evil.
good in that mode.
Yeah, that mode was insane. I felt so bad for people, and I could see them freaking out from far away just from the false footfalls. They did so much more work in that mode. It was
I
insane.
I barely activated my power in that mode. You didn't have to.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, not really.
it was kind of nice. It was really bad for the survivor. I mean, a lot of times I would just like wait by a gin around a corner.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
kind of nuts. I would just look for one with a candle on top and just wait around the gin. Um, yeah, like honestly, I think with the argument of anything else would be better, it does fit into detrimental. So two add-ons are going in here. Uh,
So, okay,
next,
cool. Do
uh,
you want to jump to yellow, or do you want to go in order here and go back to Erie and then down?
I think we'll go to the yellows. I think it makes the
Okay.
most sense. Automatic screwdriver. Um, what is it? Is it 8%? Right?
Yeah, it's 8%.
8% on a miss.
So, yep.
Uh, I mean, technically speaking, it's always useful.
That's true. You know, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I would. Yeah,
Like, I think this, and I guess we'll go to power drill too, which is 10% on a hit, is always useful as well.
yeah, I think drill's better for sure
Now,
because you want to like. Oh, go on.
I was gonna say now drill saves you about a second, and power drill or screwdriver saves you. I think it's 0.8 seconds,
Yeah,
which isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it can matter.
I mean, we have people arguing that the 0.3 seconds matter, so I think like 0.8 seconds in a full second matter.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and power drill is also one of Chucky's, well, until recently, one of Chucky's best counters to dead hard, quote unquote counter. Because you would get the power back faster when you hit someone with a dead hard.
Yeah,
That was one of the big reasons. Personally, I would say they're always useful. There's never a time when having lower cooldown is bad. I just don't think they are as necessary as they were, which I do think is a good thing. But again, I know people who swear by at least power drill. So
yeah, I think power drill's fair. I have an argument for automatic actually.
was that?
How many when you're not having like an off day, because I mean we all have those. When you're like actually playing just like a normal game, how often are you missing your slice and dice in a regular match?
Okay, here's what I'll do for power drill in that case, or screwdriver. I'm gonna put it in build reliant, and here's why. If you're doing the save the best for last build,
Oh, interesting.
I will miss slice and dices on purpose.
That's fair. I was gonna say sometimes useful because I've had like game after game after game where I don't miss a single one. That does not mean it's a free hit. I want to correct that real fast because I know that comes up. Does not mean it's a free hit. But I think build reliant or sometimes useful makes a little bit more sense to me. But yeah,
I think the bottom of sometimes useful will probably be the best place for it. Once we add more to it, I think that'll make the most sense.
I agree.
I'm gonna say carving knife for last because I have a lot to say about that one because I've been using it like the past 2 months.
Have you really? There's
yes.
one I've changed to using, so I'm curious what you think of that one.
So jump rope, always useful.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's as much as people think. It's the distance is very minimal. It's actually I think Pig has a similar add-on that gives the exact same amount of distance because they both have the same distance in their dash. But Pig has like I think it's like a 30% extra charge speed or something like that. Like heavy nerf to it, so it's weird. But yeah, it's always useful. Like there's no reason not to run it.
Yeah, if
your double taps for sure.
I mean, we used to have the trifecta, which I think is what's going to be an always useful, but jump rope will never, like, even if they nerf it to 5%, people will still run it.
Yeah.
Having even a little bit of extra distance is almost always good. If you miss, if you hit, if you just use it for mobility, it's always useful to have extra distance.
Yeah, if we were doing like a tier list of like just charting them out, I'd actually have it lower than I would have before when we did this. It's actually like I think like my fourth or fifth favorite add-on, if that, at this point.
Mhm.
But it is always useful.
Uh, Next is hairspray and candle. This one's a tough one to judge because I want to say it's build reliant, but I would more so say it's sometimes useful.
This
Um,
one, this has slowly become one of my favorites,
really.
actually. So lately, what I've been able to do is I've been able to get as many as 2 M1s before I dash. So like say they go for an unhook, I can hit the unhooker, hit the person I got off the hook, and then go for a dash and down one of them. Usually the unhooker. It's insane. I can do so much work. Or if they try to body block, I can hit the body blocker, hit them, and then do my double tap.
But
It's
would you say that there's matches where sometimes you can't get that M1?
The second one, yes. But it also helps. It how do I describe it? I'm trying to think. I'm what it lets me do too is it gives me more insurance to get my M1 in before I dash.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes if I do the M1, it's not great to dash right away. Or I had to set up the M1 a little bit differently. Like I'll use the power to the hidey ho to secure the M1 and then get the dash. But if I don't have the hairspray, it's harder to set that up. I usually notice it, I'd say at least every other match, not every match, but I do think it's actually quite good.
I
But I
would
think
put it.
sometimes useful is still fair.
Yeah, I think right at the top of sometimes useful because again, I think the problem with it is that if there are those matches where you aren't able to get those M1s, which isn't like all the time, but it does happen. Like when you
Yeah,
can't set those double taps up properly or use it in the way you describe. Sometimes it does happen where you just can't get those matches to go the way you need them to.
yeah. I highly recommend other Chuckies. Check it out. I'm starting to get onto the point where I almost think it's unfair because the way it almost guarantees me getting double taps is kind of nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd recommend everybody at least try it out once. It does more than you would think.
Next is probably my favorite add-on. It's the carving knife. Um,
Interesting.
so I'm gonna put it in sometimes useful because I don't think it's always useful. But carving knife has slowly become my favorite add-on. His because the people who do know how to dodge, this eliminates that. It's only 5%. But
I
people who rush into lockers to dodge it, people who go like into like little crevices that I can't like body block them to stay in, this
right.
counters them.
I'll have to see because like I've always thought that he needs a longer cooldown because anytime they hop in a locker, I seem to be guaranteed the hit anyways.
Hmm.
Unless it's like like it's like practically kissing a pallet. So maybe I've just not run it enough, but I always felt like it was already short as it is. So that's
I
interesting.
When I take it off, I feel it. Like I'm just
Interesting.
so used to the cooldown. It's part of the big reasons why I want his miss cooldown to be longer because I know
Yeah,
I've seen what it can be when it's shorter.
yeah, even like base kit, I feel like it's too short. Like there's so many times they've effectively dodged me or like you said, done a locker tech against me. Which, by the way, Iron Maiden is one of the funniest Chucky perks against a good team that tries to abuse that.
Same
It's
with
the
Blight.
funniest thing.
Same on Blight.
Yeah.
Or Bubba.
Yep. So yeah, I am stunned. The cooldown is not longer. It needs to be. That's one of the big changes.
What is it at base? I forget what the wiki said. It's like 1.7, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what the wiki says. I'm always hesitant to fully go off the wiki, and that's not one thing I've
That
tested
that that
with frame
sounds
data.
that sounds right though. 1.7 sounds right. I want to up it to at least 2.5.
Yeah, I'd say it's worth a shot because I think it'd make people feel a lot better about when they do dodge. Because right now, if you dodge it, it feels like it doesn't do anything. Even me, I just uploaded clips to Twitter of me dodging like 3 slice and dices in a row, and like I still get hit by the M1
Yeah, yeah.
afterwards. It didn't really matter at the end of the day, and that I understand. That needs to go up. Plus,
Yeah.
then you also have to think about your slice and dices. Right now, you can kind of throw it out without much punishment. And I think
Hmm.
that's a big problem.
And then with the cooldown being so short, that doesn't help either. You can just keep spamming it.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
Next on to the greens, which are probably the more interesting of the bunch.
Yeah, this is always I think the most exciting part of the
We'll
bit.
do portable TV first.
This one's obvious.
Yeah, it's just build reliant. That's what I would put it. Like if you're doing an in-game build, which Chucky is one of the best in-game killers in the game because of this add-on, in my opinion. If you're doing an in-game build, just bring portable TV. You're almost guaranteed to get uses out of it.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree.
no one sees it coming.
Oh yeah, this is this is insane. This was Scancel's was absolutely insanity because there was nowhere on the map you couldn't go because you
Hmm.
could cancel and redirect. So you zipped around the entire map. It was insane.
I
Um,
the amount of games I played with this add-on and people think they're safe because like they're super far away, and then
oh
like
yeah,
I slice and dice under a pallet halfway there, and then I catch up to them anyways.
yeah. It's not to mention it's like one of the most fun add-ons. Like this is one
Hmm.
of the most fun play styles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
crazy good stuff.
Honestly, I think it's also as far as like balance goes, I think it's perfectly designed. I think it's one of the few like in-game add-ons like it. Like a
I'm trying
buff
to
to
think
your
of any other
power in
one.
in-game, like straight up. No, no,
I'm
no.
surprised
Hmm.
they haven't made more, considering the fact that they seem to like the end game to be the killers part of the game. Like survivor perks are more and more getting shut down in endgame.
Hmm.
We have a lot of endgame perks now, so I'm surprised there's not more add-ons like this yet. Well, actually, Dracula gets a goofy one, admittedly, but
Yeah,
they do
still,
have an endgame perk now, so maybe we'll see more.
yeah. I'm hoping we see more like BFFs too. I still love that design.
Oh yeah, that one's good too.
Um, do I even have to name? Do we even have to talk about this one?
Can we put it in like the please ban or like please nerf tier? Because like, oh dear God, this is I made a whole video. I'm sure you've talked about it at length as well.
Hmm.
I legitimately think that maybe 70 to 80% of the hate Chucky gets would not exist if it weren't for this add-on.
Yeah.
I legit think that if this had not ever been a thing, Chucky would not be nearly as hated as he
The,
is
the
at the
the
moment.
the sad thing is a lot of like, and not all of them. Much love to Ash.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't
most
get me.
most
I
most
want to.
most Chucky players I know don't even run it out of principle.
Yeah. Well, and there's nothing. It's so hard because like, no shame to anybody that does run it, right? And Ash is an amazing Chucky player. Like, I guarantee you take rat poison away, and Ash is still gonna destroy you with Tiffany,
Hmm.
right? Um, the problem is Chucky is like a very played character right now because they do have some insane strength. But I think if you, the other thing is, I think if you removed this add-on or changed it to Scream, I think like 70% of the Chucky player base would just disappear overnight.
I
I'm
wouldn't
not
go
even
that
kidding.
far, but maybe.
I legitimately think most people would drop Chucky because at that point, and I've stood behind the fact I think Chucky's like very lenient or very dependent on you having good macro sense if you don't run it.
Mhm.
You need to know exactly where survivors are going. You need to have a good prediction of like where they're going to want to go if you use your scamper hits. Um, you need to prep for the counterplay.
You got to know when to
And
drop chase and when not to, and it's since he's so slow, it's a huge deal for him.
exactly, he's got the micro game covered. Like you really like he's got that covered. But he's so weak in the 4v1 that you really have to shore that weakness up yourself. And
Mhm.
rat poison doesn't just help in like landing your hits. Like if you can just pop that out in the open, you don't see auras, cool. I know nobody's here. You move on. Or it helps you
It's
find people you wouldn't have found before. Like
I,
it's too much.
I took it out of my my best build for Chucky, quote unquote best build. I had nowhere to hide in there. I took it out because I realized that I can just rat poison the
Yep.
gen and get the same effect.
This with lethal is insanity. Because Chucky, I think having a good early game with Chuck is really important.
Hmm.
Um and this and then you make rat poison longer, like it is just so much. You really don't need another aura perk whatsoever. Like this just covers that whole part of the build every time for you. It's so reliable.
Yeah,
It's insane.
and I mean, there's a reason a lot of us want it just nuked. Like,
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
even my idea to change it to screaming, like it's not like I don't think that nukes it, but like even then, it's still not as useful
You
as it
know what?
currently
I
is.
actually think that you making it a scream, which I agree, I actually think that would be way better. I think that's a side buff if I'm honest, especially if you run it with straight razor.
Hmm.
It actually helps your 4v1 a little bit, get them off
Yeah,
objectives,
I could see
run
that.
stuff like Dead Man Switch or something.
Hmm.
You could get some additional benefits that I think are more interesting. But yeah, the way it is, it's just yeah.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think the pinpoint. I would even if it made it Killer Instinct, I would be fine with it.
Actually I used to say Killer Instinct, but I changed to Scream once you said that because that just made more sense to me
Yeah, I mean,
for Chucky.
because the idea of like I want to keep it as an information perk or an add-on, and it just makes the most sense because I mean, it's literally rat poison. It's killing. It's finding the rats.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. That's what that when people are like say like I have a redeem on my channel that's like say something nice about a person, and people all the time joke and like say something nice about rat poison. I'm like, I think it's the most fitting add-on they've ever created because you pop it, you find the rats, and you kill them. It's perfectly named. I don't know if they intended that, but it cracks me up every time.
It's so good. It's also like the only reference to the TV show, or not the TV
I
show,
know the the
the later
the newer
movies.
movies.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's like one of my favorite things. If you've not watched Curse of Chucky, even if you've not watched the Chucky series, I think you can get through that one and somewhat understand it. There's a gorgeous, gorgeous, wonderful cinematic scene with rat poison. It's one of my favorite shots in cinema,
it's
actually,
so
in like
good.
horror. It's beautiful.
There's so many red herrings in that scene too. It's so good.
Yes, it's so good. It's so fun to watch.
Um,
Okay.
Next is running shoes.
Yes, I love running shoes.
This is a hard one to
Um,
determine.
I think running shoes is better than some people say, but I don't think I could go any better than sometimes. I think at best it's sometimes. But beyond that, I'd say almost build reliant because if you pair it with like bamboozle or dark arrogance, it gets even better. You get a little
There
bit more value.
there is
Go on.
like offhand, I can think of like four loops that it guarantees a hit on if you know what you're doing.
I think
Um,
my favorite.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say I agree. I think there's a few loops where it guarantees a hit where you don't get one normally, but one of those is Shack.
Yes.
There's a way to set up Shack where Chucky can't get you, but the running shoes turns that off, and I love it for it. Um, but yeah, like I don't think that makes it a always useful add-on.
It's one of those things that with Shaq though, Chucky's already so good at Shaq.
I say he's 50-50. I think if somebody doesn't know, like if you have a survivors that don't know like check spots, and they get like anxious and make moves, which I'd say is like 80% of survivors, maybe more.
Hmm.
Yeah, like Chucky's gonna dominate you at Shack. But the survivors that like understand check spots, like it's so easy to deny him Shack at all.
Hmm.
But you really don't have to do anything. You can just turn off almost every option pretty easily if you have the right positioning.
Fair enough. My point is, I feel like running shoes is one of those ones that like, because most of the loops it gets you hits at, like Shaq and whatever, he can already kind of play them. This just makes it easier.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
agree.
think sometimes useful is definitely the more fitting
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I used to be a big champion of running shoes. But yeah, like at this point, I just don't think it's as much value as some of the other stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Next is a personal favorite of mine, Silk Pillow, which is
So
I don't
the
know. Mm,
oh, go on.
I don't know if I want to put it in build reliant or sometimes useful.
I feel like it's build reliant,
I mean, the
but I'm
lower
not.
terror radius is always good though.
Mm, that is hard. It is.
It's just it shines way more with a full build. But then
I
the
think
detriment
I
of
would.
the charge time, it's a rough one to kind of.
Yeah, this is one that if you don't have like, it's like on a bell curve. Um, I don't know. That's a really hard one because I think and like when I look at stuff for Chucky, I don't really care about bad to like average survivors because like I could probably perform against them with any killer. Like you could hand me a trapper and I'll probably do just fine. I care more about like the upper end of survivors.
Mhm.
and they know to pre-run the moment, like they'll hold resources until they know where Chucky's at, right? Like a good Swift, the correct way to play is similar to Ghostface, where if you don't know where he's at, just hold resources, and then once you know where he's at, everybody jumps on a gen, and then the person nearest, runs and holds W, and this kind of prevents that. It gives them less warning, and I think that's pretty important.
It's not even just less warning. It's a lot like when he's not in a chase with you, but if he like drops chase with you, it can be very hard to determine exactly how far away he went because the terror radius changes based on the distance. So
yeah, that's very accurate. I'd say I the 50% can feel bad. The additional 50%.
I still say Edric. I always tell everyone I've gotten to use this add-on is always like after like 3 or 4 matches they get used to it.
Yeah, the only problem is you become a lot less reactive. Like there's a lot of hits where like I have like a split second or so to like, if I make a slice and dice now, like I can get a hit in where I wouldn't normally, and this turns some of those off. So sometimes I'm like, if I didn't have this, I could charge a little bit faster here. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna hinder you that much. It's pretty rare.
Yeah.
So I think top of build reliant, or maybe if we did want to move it to sometimes useful, I'd put it above like running shoes or doll eyes. I think that where it's at now or there is the 2 places that make sense to me.
I think sometimes useful makes the most sense to me.
That's fair to me.
I just think there's so many situations where I can see because I've ran it on its own before and it did just fine. It's also a hard add-on to determine because it's one of those ones where the effect is so.
A lot of it's on the survivor end.
Yeah, well, not even just that. It's so hard to like actually determine if you got use out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think sometimes useful is definitely where it should go. I love how the trifecta hasn't changed. Speaking of, we didn't really mention this with running shoes. Manual Scamper's gone, so running shoes lost a lot of its power because of that.
Yeah, manual scamper made that like I love. Oh my god, that makes running shoes insane.
I think it was probably one of 2. Yeah, there's only like 3 add-ons that were affected by manual scamper being removed.
One we're about to talk about. Kind of got the boot.
Yep, which is Yardstick.
Yeah.
This is a rough one.
I agree with you that almost never. I have actually tried running it lately because like I refuse to run rat poison just because of how strong it is. So I've recently tried to test and see. Well, maybe a weaker version with Yardstick is like something. Like if I throw on lethal, I'll have a good early game, and then like it's not great, but maybe it's something. But man, that 3 seconds duration is so short. If it was even 5, I think it'd be a lot more useful. But it only being 3 seconds feels really bad.
Yeah, because it's 3 seconds from the scamper, isn't it?
Yeah, so by the time you're done with the dash, it's already over. Yeah. And if you're doing a dash, you should already know like where you're going. So yeah, it's there. Almost detrimental because again, you'd almost want to run anything else.
I mean, the one upside it has is if you do see an aura, you know they're in range to be hit. Because it's the exact range of a slice and dice.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but it's almost never.
Like, actually, right now with our super duper bugged Chucky, this is an S tier add-on.
Oh yeah, it probably is.
You can do the 360 recenter.
Oh god.
And then you got the double 90 degrees because you can turn 90 degrees again because it resets. So you get it's fucking insane. Yardstick's kind of nasty at the moment.
Yeah, I think almost never useful. Apart from the bugginess is where it should be. Which I feel like a lot of the next ones are going to be in there as well. Okay, we're just going to get out of the way. Mirror Shards is detrimental.
I disagree.
Are you being serious?
I'm being serious. I actually have learned to like Mirror Shards a tiny bit. It's not great. At best, it's like I would put it above running shoes just slightly. But this has actually saved me a handful of times.
You would put it
it's
in
like
sometimes useful above running shoes.
Yes. This is actually been like the poorest of poor man's rat poisons, and it has helped saved me against saves, and it's told me how many survivors are in the area because like only so many footfalls can fall around a survivor.
It's
So if like I can count how many footfalls there are, so now I know how many survivors are near me as well. So it saved me from flashlight safe hiders. It's helped me find people I wouldn't have found otherwise. Like like 'cause you're not always going into hidey ho just for a dash, right?
mhm.
It's actually helped me in numerous matches. Now is it great? Fuck no. I could not recommend other people run it, but I can't. I actually I have changed to liking mirror shards, especially since they fixed the audio issues.
I think
I actually like it now.
I think with you and Yoshi convincing me, I think the top of almost never useful is probably where it should be honestly, or the bottom of sometimes useful.
I'm willing to concede, but I do recommend people try it out. I think it's better than people let on.
I
And I
just
was one of the naysayers. I
I put it in
promise. But
detrimental. The
it's
audio just messes with me too much. I can't
I
concentrate.
I used to think so, and I ran it for I don't know. It's been maybe a month now, and man, it's actually pretty nice. Like it's man. There's so many little uses. It's very excuse me, very minuscule, but like I actually like it. It's
But by that definition, by being very minuscule, wouldn't that put it in almost never useful?
but that's I guess it comes into like how often. I got use out of it almost every single match. But the uses were like, while small, I think like the outcomes of those small things were nice, right? Like knowing how many survivors were in the area, finding survivors I wouldn't find, right? Like those are some of the things you use rat poison for. It was harder to use for sure.
Yeah,
Like if you
but with rat poison existing, doesn't it immediately put it lower?
um yeah, we're not really looking at them at a volume. I see my argument for sometimes useful over never is I did get use out of it almost every match. It wasn't like a few matches here and there. It was almost every match I had it.
I'll concede and put it at the bottom of sometimes useful.
There we go. I'll agree there. I think either placement above almost never, but there I did actually get use every game. I know I'm gonna get a hard time with that, but like it is actually kind of useful if you lean into it.
I
It takes a lot of work though. You do have to like pay attention. It's not like the easiest add-on. It needs to be better.
I think a few changes. I mean, my change has been making it also add like the giggle, but the few changes, the one big change I want to it, I wish it didn't work on slugged people.
Oh yeah, that's the same issue I have with whispers. Whispers could actually be like a fun perk. But the fact that it triggers off the person on hook makes it nearly useless.
I wouldn't want mirror. I'm fine with mirror shards working on the person on hook because I wouldn't want it to lead to like proxy camping.
Hmm.
Even currently, though, I guess if you know what you're looking for, you can do it.
Yeah, this one actually kind of works around that, right? Because even if it triggers on hook, like the footfalls will tell me if there's another person because there'll be more than the two.
Mhm.
Like I'll see more, and then it'll give me a more direct location. So it actually triggering off the person on hook is not that big a deal,
I think it is
except for maybe
wild.
audio wise a little bit.
I think it is wild we are putting it as high as we are.
I know. Just run it and then tell me. Like run it for like a week. I was the biggest naysayer. I was with you on the last one. I hated it.
When the bugs are fixed, I'll run it.
Okay, so I think what changed is Iron Will. Iron
Mm.
Will being so, and then light-footed, Lucky Star to a small extent. There's so much silent perks, and
I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've only seen. I only saw Iron Will for like the first week.
I've still been seeing it. But there's also another reason. It works on slugs.
Yeah, that's what I was saying
So,
earlier. I don't like that it
yeah.
works on slugs.
Oh yeah, right. Like, if it's fair or not, right? I still think it goes here. There's just so many uses for it. I wouldn't mind if it didn't work for. Well, it sucks because like I don't think there's anything wrong with slugs. Like slugging, I think it's in fact mandatory sometimes. like it's there for a reason. I don't think you should be going out trying to 4-man slug. I mean, unless you're twins, that's like kind of what they're designed to do, or Oni. But like if you're going for a 4-man slug as Chucky, I think you're already playing bad already. If you do get 4-man slugged by Chucky, like I won't say survivor error because there's a lot of things that go into that, but like they really shouldn't be happening, so I don't really mind.
A
But
lot of a lot of times when I got those 4-man slugs during the experiment, it was because people didn't move.
that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's hard. It's hard. If they took it away from slugs, I wouldn't be hurt. But it all is also nice that if I slug like 1 or 2 people, I can find them easier, so I don't have to keep them on the ground. Because I don't mind slugging. I don't think it's toxic, but I also don't like leaving people on the ground. You know, like I want to get them back on hook once I get the pressure I needed.
This is gonna be the most lopsided. Well, no, actually, the next ones are probably gonna change things a little bit. Pile of nails.
I say detrimental.
I don't.
But I'm willing to hear because like the benefit doesn't outweigh the negative, so you're like it's like incentivizing you to go into a negative scenario.
Yeah, I would put it in almost detrimental. It's even I have seen. I have tried to make this add-on work so many times.
Yeah. They even nerfed it and it was already bad. I don't really get it. I don't know what they saw and they're like, oh, this needs to go.
It wasn't even picked that much, I feel.
No, I legitimately think that a developer lost to a Chucky, was really frustrated, saw the add-on, and was like, fuck that thing. Like, that's the only thing I can think of because it makes zero sense.
The other thing with it is that, like, and I've talked about this many times, when Chucky, because this only works on manually ending Hidey Ho. So
yeah,
it doesn't even work when you slice and dice it into it.
Yeah, if it was different, like if it was just at the end of your Hidey Ho, like, dude, that'd actually be kind of insane. I'd like.
I don't know about insane, but I would say it would be better than it is.
Well, yeah. It's not game breaking. It's not like Medusa's hair or something.
But the problem, the biggest problem with the manual thing is, one, I mean, obviously you don't get the slice and dice. It's the big problem. But two, when you do that, and I've talked about this many times, you laugh super loud for 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And the undetectable is 3 seconds. And then you laugh still while you're undetectable.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
there's just no benefit for the negative.
It's just I would argue it's almost actively detrimental. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say about it. Buff it, even if they buff it back to 5 seconds, it's still not going to be that good.
No, you would fundamentally have to change.
Plastic bag, my favorite. This is a hard one to gauge because the times it is useful, you'll almost never notice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I have a hard time. I want to think it's good because like it sounds like it's languid touch on a add-on, but not really.
There's 2 problems with plastic bag. One, you don't know if someone ran over a footstep unless you're running mirror shards.
Yep.
And 2,
well, even then.
Yeah, even then, I mean, that you're still playing luck of the draw because who knows if the game counted them actually walking on it.
You know what I just realized? Are footfalls, like the illusionary ones, are those client-sided? I've never thought to test that until just now.
I don't know. I would assume not.
I don't know. Now you have me curious. It's something we'll have to test out at some point. Because you might not even be able to tell if you had mirror shards if it's client-sided.
But the other problem with it,
I didn't mean to
no, you're good. The other problem with it though is that you have to run mirror shards basically to even know if they hit into it, and once again, even if it's client side, who knows?
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, it's not even hitting the people you're chasing; it's hitting people on gens.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's good.
And again, and I mentioned this, and I know some people will come with the argument, well, everyone runs an exhaustion perk. What if this is the match they don't? Then this add-on literally does nothing for you.
Well, yeah, but in the other issues, like, I don't know. The footfalls go around the survivors quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't really think you're going to get that much guaranteed use out of it. Just, I don't know. And usually the one that fucks Chucky over the most is dead hard, and so you'll usually, like, say they step in a footfall, they get the 15 seconds. That's enough for you to usually get your first hit. You're on cooldown for 10 seconds. By the time you do your slice and dice again, or if you got an M1 and then you go for a slice and dice if you're not two tapping, it's already probably over.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really turning off dead hard. And like at this point, like just run some other perks. Like we just got one of the
Genetic.
best yeah, exactly.
Genetic lens
Exactly.
is so
Like
good.
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've argued to change this to Oblivious from Exhausted, but regardless, it's just like
Yeah.
like even if it gets used, you'll never know. That's the other problem with it. You won't know
Yeah.
until the end of the match, and even then, you kind of have to guess unless you're running mirror shards, and even then,
You'd have to like set up like a custom game and takes like a survey afterwards to find out. It just it's impossible to know the value you're getting out of it. So it's
yeah,
hard to place, but I think there's the best.
it's yeah. I think at the bottom of almost never useful is a good place to put it.
I do think we should put good guy box above yardstick though. I just noticed that. I do think good guy box is
Better than yardstick.
yeah. I think you're gonna just get more use out of it
Um,
more often.
Here is probably the one that has changed the most, in my opinion, as far as my opinion on it.
Same.
I think straight razor is almost always useful.
I agree. I think it's better than jump rope, and I think it's honestly, I think it's better than drill. I'm willing to
This
put it under drill. I'm willing to put it under drill. I think drill
I
is more guaranteed. But with the current meta, with like how things have been recently,
mhm.
and with how bad his pressure is outside the 1v1, I feel bad every time I take this off. Like I can
So
take drill off and I don't really notice too much.
mm,
Like it's not gonna cost me a game or lose me all that much. Same with jump rope, but if I take off blades, it just feels horrible.
so straight razor inflicting the mangled and hemorrhage for 80 seconds. We used to be in agreement that it wasn't that good because Chucky's not really a hit and run killer. However, things have changed and metas have shifted and opinions change with time. Uh, this add-on basically allows you to deny resets, to slug better, to waste more time if need be. Because one of the biggest things with Chucky you want to do against him is never be injured as
Well, yeah,
much as possible. And this
agreed.
denies that like almost completely. Like if someone's on a hook and they were hit with straight razor, even if it takes you 10 seconds to get to the hook, that's 70 seconds. That's the full hook timer, give or take. So they have to then get off the hook. They're still mangled and hemorrhaged. Someone has to heal them. Even if they have resurgence or whatever, the hemorrhage is going to start kicking in. Then you can run over there and stop them from doing the reset.
Yeah.
It's it's really good.
No, yeah. I love this. I never take it off anymore. This and hairspray have become like my go-to add-ons. Like I feel bad every time I take them off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not hairspray, but I definitely notice it. This is just so good.
Yeah, and it's funny to think we used to think it was not that great before.
I mean, the idea, like I think the thought process we had on it made sense, especially given the meta at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, seasons have changed.
Well,
New
I
things are
think
upon us.
like it's funny to think because people say the meta in this game never changes. But back in April when we did this originally, like stopping resets wasn't really a thing because it wasn't that big of a deal back then.
No, it yeah it. This just plays such a big role. It covers like I talk about it all the time. Chucky can have the strongest 1v1 in the world, and I still think Spirit has a stronger 1v1, but like that really doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things if you have an efficient team. The 4v1's really where the game is important. That's why characters that have both are so strong.
Mm-hmm.
But this like shores up that 4v1 weakness just enough to help.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention it, but I mean, if you're gonna tunnel somebody, this is the add-on to do it with.
Yeah, agreed.
Um, it also like I mean, the 20% like slower healing doesn't seem like much, but it matters, even if it's only for 80 seconds. Like, and oh well, they can just wait it out. Cool, that's 80 seconds where I can just insta down them,
Yeah,
and I'm Chucky, so it's probably gonna happen.
yeah, it's too good. Not
Yeah.
too good. I mean, it's just better than we
I think
thought.
balance wise it's fine, but yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Balance wise, yeah. I didn't mean to say too good. It's just it's good, and I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of too good, we have the Iridescence, often the killer's greatest add-ons of all time, which are kind of not that great.
Yeah,
Um,
unfortunately.
I think we'll do Hard Hat first, and that's just because I think I have more to say about Amulet. Hard Hat is it's
I don't.
I think I'm going to put it in almost never useful because this is in my opinion is a convenience add-on.
I've seen some builds. I'd almost put it in builder light because there's some stuff you
Mm,
can do with like trying to do like an exposed build and like be sneaky like a poor man's ghost face almost.
yeah,
Um, but like yeah, if you're just trying to like throw it on normally, I don't know. Like if you're using your hidey ho and then yeah,
I think
I don't
like
know.
because it works with Thwack now. By the way, they fixed that.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah. But like in general, like the most use cases this add-on gets is on God palettes. That is where it is the most useful because you can just slice and dice, catch up, and break the pallet.
Yeah.
Um, and
It's
but it's one of those things, and we talked about this before. The biggest problem with this, even before when you could manual scamper, is sometimes you want to leave the pallets down.
Yeah, actually, sorry, and I should say I got confused. I thought we were doing amulet. That's why I said though, like there's some builds. Yeah, hard hat. Sorry, my mistake. I think it's really good at like you said god palettes, and to your point, I prefer to leave palettes up. I know a lot of chucks really love brutal strength, but more often than not, like every palette at worst is like a good 50-50 for me.
Mm.
So I just or like and it just extends my movement if I need it to. So I get
Yeah,
lots of scamper hits I normally wouldn't. Which I think like people tell me all the time scamper's useless. And I
I,
think part of the reason they think that is because they break their pallets all the time. But like I don't know, I get 3, maybe 6 if I have a good match. Scamper hits every match.
I get about
And a large part of
two
that.
to four, I'd say, every match.
Yeah, and a lot of that's because I left a pallet down. Um like yeah, so hard hat actively goes against what I want to do. So I'd put it in almost never useful, but it is nice for like some of those pallets you just cannot play around.
Yeah,
If you're already not going to get the hit, you just break it instantly and make up some distance on
I,
like a good god pallet.
I think I would rather just put it in build reliant because if you're doing a build that revolves around you breaking pallets anyways, it's just kind of nice to have.
Yeah,
Um, but
that's fair.
otherwise, like I said, other than like god pallets, it's just not that great.
No, I
Um,
don't hate it as much as I used to, but
Also, to your
I don't
point
run
of
it.
people saying you're not going to hit scampers, I really do think people are talking about the first scamper and not the second one. Usually, if I can like land a second scamper, I will hit someone with the scamper hit.
Oh, I don't know. I think I've gotten like I hit many on my first scamper. I hit tons on like a chain of like upwards of 4. Sometimes
Mm,
if I have the right map, like it doesn't even have to be Gideon's. Like I think a disturbed ward. There's some spots I can get a few. Like I don't know. I think if you go on dbd.tricky, I'm averaging like 200 to 300 a week or something like that. So like I'm definitely getting them in, and I feel like many times I'm getting
fair enough.
them on like the first hit. So
Fair enough. I do think that people like. I'm not gonna sit here and say the current scamper is like the greatest thing in the world, and you're always gonna get hit because you're not. But there are
no,
times when you can still get a hit with it,
yeah,
even against good
that's I
players. Like,
yeah, I agree. I've had legit comp players, not like in a comp setting, but I've hit comp players with like into like a one chain scamper hit. It's definitely there. I think it's the probably the hardest thing on Chuck for sure, and like it takes a lot of getting used to, and it's a bit easier on PC than it is on console, so that could be part of the issue too. But it's definitely more useful than people like to think it is.
I also think Scamper suffers from greatest swordsman syndrome, where I actually think it's a little bit easier to hit good players with it than bad ones.
Um, that's interesting. I don't know. I feel like against bad players, they just like vault a pallet or window and then run straight, and it's like, oh, okay, well, thanks, I guess.
Well,
At
I
that
mean,
point.
sometimes that's enough to dodge it. If there's something in between there.
I'll have to think about it. I think I disagree. I don't know. I still think people struggle to understand what they're supposed to do against Chucky, which is so funny because he has some of the same counterplay as other killers like Billy or
Legion.
Trickster. Yeah, we're like you want to take the short side of the loop. You want to create as many line of sight breaks. You want to make as much distance. Like that's just the thing, right? Like you don't want to hang out at loops. You want to make distance, put objects behind you, break line of sight, and take short side loops. And all of that will turn off Scamper pretty
I
easily.
need
But
to.
man,
I need to post that video of someone who looped me around a rock for like 45 seconds.
well, yeah, that's the thing. Like I tell people all the time, players keep complaining that they're adding like junk to maps, like rocks and trees. And I'm like, that shit sucks as Chucky sometimes. You can use some of that to avoid the slice and dice. And I think survivors have gotten used to just pretending it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
Like it's just invisible in their eyes. They just look at pallets, windows, and then like established loops. But sometimes like that little rock or that like tree that can help you avoid a slice and dice pretty easily. I have numerous clips. I'm using just junk and making slice and dice a
Well,
joke.
we can't post those because if I post them as the Chucky player, I'm bad at Chucky. If you post them as a Survivor player, you're bad at Chucky. So or
Well,
they're bad
see,
at Chucky.
I finally got another P100 Chucky in one of my games on Ormond, right? And I was like dodging not too hard, and I was so happy they were a P100. I was like, thank God. They can't say this Chucky doesn't know what they're doing.
Well, they can.
Uh,
They can. He might just be 100. He might not actually play the character.
I guess that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I don't know. There's no winning that conversation,
No,
unfortunately.
there's not. It doesn't matter. I had someone tell me on my scamper video, like all of those hits were against bad survivors, so none of them counted apparently. You
Interesting.
literally can't win.
No, I don't know. Man, I still think I have the clips against Tofu of me hitting a few scampers on Tofu without rat poison. Um, Maybe I'll dig those up. I'd be interested to see if they say what they say in that scenario. If Tofu's a bad survivor, if I'm a
He's
like
playing.
I
He was
got
having
like
a bad match.
like what's the argument?
There's
Like
always an
honestly,
argument. I love it because I see it like in real time. Anytime someone posts a clip in DBD or any video game, so I was like, oh well, that wouldn't work against a good player.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, it worked right then and there. So who cares?
Can I throw in a suggestion real quick? If you're having a hard time with Scamper and or just like slice and dice at all and having a hard time of dodging it, there are two streamers and content creators on YouTube you can go look at right now with recent videos where they're running Chuckies for long periods of time. And one of them even features me. I won't say which one. It was a Skirms video. And he looped me for a good minute and a half, maybe. But Mish and Skirms are regularly dodging Chuckies, so they're good to check out. Like,
Just the biggest thing that throws me off when I play Chucky is running into them. I swear to you, and I don't mean like a fucking like a deer in the headlights. Like do like a U into them, and I promise you they will miss.
yeah,
It
there's some stuff you can do. It is hard. I like Chucky's not really anything new dodging wise, right? Like we have Oni who's even faster,
mm,
but this is the first mix we've had of like Onryo being hard to track mixed with a dash, and I think that's where people get a little tripped up is making evasive maneuvers and trying to keep your camera where it needs to be.
yeah.
So I understand. I'm not saying it. I've never said it's like brainless or easy. It is actively annoying, and a lot of Survivor players like to play with music and kind of chill. And Chucky requires so much attention. I understand that, but it is not impossible
No,
by any
not
means.
at all. I've never said it's easy to dodge it. I just said you can. That's all what I always tell people. Like
Yeah,
ease to
yeah,
do it and ability to do it are two different things.
yeah. No,
Now,
I agree.
the argument could then be made: should it be hard to dodge? And that's a whole other
I
discussion.
the one thing Well, I'll save it. It's a conversation of one thing. I'd change to Chucky, but it kind of leads into that. But yeah, it's another conversation.
Speaking of conversation, the last add-on is Iridescent Amulet.
Yay.
This is a hard one to judge.
This is the one where I've recently seen a few Chuckies doing like exposed builds, and like with like maybe some haste abilities, and just trying to stay in Heidi Ho. And I think that's fun. I think it's a very fun build, and it can be very good against like survivors that don't know how to track you through the laugh, which is bugged right now. So I think right now it's pretty good. Even before this current bug, just the sound of the game is broken. But at best, it's bottom of build reliant.
I think that's fair. I think it's funny that both the reds or Eries are there. I think it is very build reliant. The 50% increase is 7 seconds added, which is good. The thing is though, most Chucky players don't stay in Heidi Ho for very long. We usually kind of just pop it and go.
Well, that's and I recently did some 1v1s as Chuck against Revium because they wanted to get better, and I was trying to test how like because Rev doesn't play a whole lot of Survivor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to see how like somebody who hasn't had a lot of experience playing Survivor, especially against Chuck, would go. And honestly, like kind of forgot where I was going. When we were at Shack, if I popped Heidi Ho, it would have cost me a hit. They would have been able to track me through the walls.
Yeah, I know.
So it's just better to not use Heidi Ho sometimes. Sometimes you're losing value by using it. And I think a lot of Chucks forget that.
Yeah,
You're sneakier without it sometimes.
it's like Amulet is such a counterintuitive add-on sometimes, and like I've talked about buffing it, and I mean the rework video is coming out, but like I have a change idea for it I really like, but it's the way it currently is. It's not useless. It has its uses, but a lot of those uses are like if you're doing like a full undetectable build or a full exposed build or like something like that. Even then, it's not that great even in those.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I think build reliant makes the most sense. Looking this over,
Yeah, is there anything we want to shuffle around?
I think I kind of want to move Screwdriver to almost never useful.
That's fair to me. That seems fair.
And I kind of want to put mirror shards into build reliant.
I'd rather put it in almost never useful because I don't think it really relies on a build. Like it doesn't synergize with any builds. I don't.
Yeah, it's just like the situations where it is good in, like I feel are
Corner cases at best.
yeah. You know what? I think I'll put it in sometimes useful, and I actually kind of put running shoes in almost never useful.
This sounds fair to me, honestly. I legitimately do think I get more use out of mirror shards than I do running shoes, and I've sung the praises of running shoes.
And I think I'm gonna put good guy eyes below mirror. God, that is so weird.
I know it's weird, accept the change. I promise you. If you had shown me this list when we did the first one, I would have thought we were on something. Seeing Razorblade up there and seeing mirror shards here.
Yeah. I think I agree with this fully now.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I disagree with. I need to play with carving knife more.
I'm telling you. I am telling you.
Whenever we get our guy back into a normal state, hopefully it's before January. I'm really worried they kill switch him and they go on holiday like they typically do. That's why the Rift is like 100 days. I don't want to go 100 days without Chucky. I'll be so annoyed.
I just want him kill switch because I feel like it'll get it fixed faster.
I'd rather...
Because it's a lot harder to fix it if he's playable.
Subscribe, damn it. I'll be back. I always come back, and so should you, you moron.